Hello, 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 everyone. Mike Arnold here, co-founder, Pat Trading Partners, along with Bob Iacchino. Welcome to the stock overview live stream. Bunch of earnings after the markets today. Let's see. There's what I had. Sorry, I didn't put that up before. We got things like Block, Coinbase, Etsy, Beyond Meat, Dell, and I know there's other ones people want to look at, so we will take a look at that. By the way, if you're new here, please do consider subscribing, ringing that bell, and hitting that like button. Long time subscribers, please hit the like button and leave some comments. Where was I? Well, okay, just want to go through tomorrow morning. We still got earnings on Friday. Not much to talk about. Not much that I'm interested in earnings. If there's anything you want me to glance at, let me know, please. But what's more important, again, I already looked at this in the stock overview, was the tomorrow. Remember, we have core PCE, core durable goods, personal income, personal spending, all very important, right at 7:30 Central Time. So please remember that. That's going to be more moving than any one of the earnings. Oh, now what do I want to talk about? What do I want to talk about? Hello, Wavy. Yeah, we'll take a look at Coin. Massive revenue beat. They're juicing up on the transaction fees. Hey, Dan Jet. Hope the young baby is doing well. Hello, Tesla Force. We'll start off with some Tesla. Tesla's range today was about 110 points. Yeah, it was an insane day. A rip your day face-off rally. I'm hearing that everybody who bought in today, it's going to double with it by March. I think that's the end of March, not the beginning of March. Here are the levels. Again, we already hit with that gap down. We hit the first target on that massive weekly double top. Coming out of oversold condition, here's what I'm watching. I'm just going to leave it on the big chart. Tomorrow morning, I have the harmonics up 815 minor, major areas about 828 to about 831 with the declining rotation zone and the 200. That's going to be the first key area to see right above there. Rotation zone, 200, and harmonics, and significant level right there. That can probably bumped a little. This probably should go right there, right at the harmonic. So above about 840, then I'd be targeting 860. Then I'm targeting 887 to the upside. Now remember, with this reversal bar, if you want some other key levels to watch for, your first area of support is about 754. And then what you don't want to do, you don't want to see with these kind of bars, real quick in case something else happens, we're in that situation, you put up your 62.5 and you don't want to see it get below about 738 again. So that's your key line in the sand. Through the 1 hour rotation zone, you can see pausing at the 4 hour, and even you stay within the 4 hour, even up to about this 846 area. So that is Tesla. By the way, I guess Elon and Kimball are under an SEC investigation for, you got the Twitter poll. You had Kimball's dumping a ton of shares before that Twitter poll, and what information he knew or what he didn't know, blah, 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 blah. I'm not minimizing it. I think one of these things will eventually stick, but it is Tesla, so we'll have to see. Let me see with coin. Here's you go with the coin. Actually, trading down slightly, even with those big numbers here. Wavy, thank you as always. Coin reported earnings, posting numbers of 332, beating expectations of 195, beating expectations of 195. 249 billion, beating expectations of 2 billion, and it's not really bouncing that much. Let's see for follow through, but remember, I am overall bearish on coin. Even a rally to 200 could not surprise me. You do have a little double bottom here on the bigger time frame, and we gotta map it all out. You always have to do your analysis, whether it unfolds or not. That would actually require a move above 217.49. So if we're getting up there, we'll take another look at that. But that's where coin sits. Not really a big reaction based off that beat. Etsy was up. Yeah, that's up just above the 157 significant level. Let's see where that's sitting. Again, coming off that 200 week. Look at that. We looked at this before. 200 week harmonic right there. Nice reversal bar now into the weekly rotation zone. I'm going to actually bump up this level just a bit based off the weekly. It's about 163, so that's your key resistance. If it continues, you're on to a clear path here, but your next level, I would really key off. Again, I'm not looking for this to last in terms of this rally, but if it did continue above 163, next target 178, and then I will watch the roll over again. Remember to do your retracements for a partial gap fill. But your first level of support then is right around 141. Let's take a look at that on the daily again. Yeah, I'm going to bump that up a little. That was off the weekly. I'm going to take that up to actually about 148. So that's what I'm watching to the upside, coming out of a divergence on there. But that's just going to be a quick pop, and I bet you we fill the gap over the next few weeks. You know, well, I'm not saying the next couple days, unless something really starts tanking with these beat up high flyers, is because we have still the month end. And so for firms still holding this is a godsend to them, because they can market at the end. As it holds up through the month end, you get to market then, and then, you know, then it can roll back over. Again, let's see, block or square SQ. Reported earnings posting numbers of 27 cents, beating expectations of 22. Revenue 4.08 billion, beating expectations of 4.03. Up to 121 right now, so that coming down. We have the 83, 84 area, significant level. All these are doing is returning. Look, they have not returned to the rotation zone really this whole time. So it's returning to the weekly rotation zone, and the 200 on the weekly right overhead, about 127 is my major area of resistance. If it could get above there, which I doubt, but again, have to do your analysis. I'd be targeting about 155. Again, that's another one I will be watching for a gap fill, and that one I will be watching for a gap fill sooner rather than later, by the way. Even sooner than Etsy. Hey, Wavy, if you have a chance, will you put in Beyond BYND a Z-scaler? That is one that I don't follow at all. Let's see, that's old, very old stuff. So let's me just see here. Oh, that's gotten hammered. So they beat, but maybe conference call or guidance. That's back down at this key support. That's really not good. That got ramped huge today. So you're back to 223 being resistance that has to get back above. So the close is up here. There is still, remember, even if it comes back up to 227, you still have a gap, even though a lot of people won't spot it. So keep that in mind. But this being below this key level again with that huge gap down, I'm watching for much lower price action in here. We'll put up our levels. So if anybody's holding that, I would not want to be in this long term. Boy, I'm sorry, I'm getting a little tired today. It's been a doozy. What a day. Yes, hello, Sashi. ZS, SQ. Well, I just did ZS. We did SQ, NET, and SAP. NET. NET trading down just a bit. Let's look at the bigger position on that. Running up into the weekly rotation zone and still trying to hold up there. Let me check something here. You still have a potential double here, but that'd have to be above 123.12. I'd just be watching above the rotation zone, then 140.76, 149.58, 158.40. Even if that rolls lower, it's still potential. You just have to drag down those targets. I'd use the conservative targets on this one. It's trading back a little post, but that's the only thing. If you do break below today's key reversal open with Cloudflare, which again, a bunch of these were all oversold. This one didn't have a divergence because it didn't trade below, but I'm still expecting longer term lower prices in a bunch of these. So just keep that in mind, but you got to go with the bounce at this point. So next, after if we do break down below this 76, 61, 58, 48 is my next target. SAP. SAP up slightly. This would just be a continued rally somewhere in the daily rotation zone. I mean, this has been pretty beat up. Got a nice little reversal bar with a lot of stuff today, but again, you're pretty overdone. Look how far off the weekly. You couldn't even get down. This is a little reversal. My longer term targets on this would be back if this continues nicely to about 121.60 area. Short term, you're going to find some resistance about this 115 to 116, but there's this gap here. Next upside target I'd be watching is for this gap fill and the rotation zone. Is probably then a slight counter move, then possibly a run to that 121, which is the top of the daily and this key level and the declining weekly rotation zone. So those would be my upside targets for that. Let's see, Dell. Looks like Dell missed, and yeah, back below it's 200. Dell getting pretty crushed, wavy with the results again. Missing expectations 172 versus 195, 28 billion, beating expectations of 27.44. Initiating a quarterly dividend of 33 cents per share, but back below the 200. So now that 200 is resistance. So if it does start to rally back, watch about 53.50 as resistance. And based off that price action, trading right at this, so any partial gap fill, I'd then watch for another rollover in Dell. MR Moderna. Pretty much flat with earnings. 1129 versus 1017. Beat on revenue, announces new 3 billion share buyback plan coming out with divergences there. But anything in Moderna then is again against the weekly rotation zone. I'd be watching 184 area for a little rally. You do have a little weekly double, so just keep an eye on that to the upside. And that would just take it within the weekly rotation zone and back. Look at, I mean, just in front of this major prior support becoming resistance. Sorry, having trouble talking. Yes, well done, Wavy. Thank you so much. AMD to buy back as much as 8 billion of shares. There you go with AMD. Again, I think a lot of these buybacks in this environment are going to fail. The companies are going to take money, and when you have the bull market, buybacks are great. It keeps juicing the prices higher, but when stuff, it'll juice it higher short term. But once we get the rollovers, that's a lot. Stock's lower than when they buy it back. It's flushing capital away, but we'll see. Here we go. Beyond, down. So Beyond, thank you, Wavy. Beyond missed slightly. 100.7 million versus 101.4. Missed a lot on EBITDA. EBITDA. And earnings per share of 127. Ooh, that was a big miss. Light Q was a guided down. Yeah, I'm expecting 37.63 next target, then below that 7. This thing's going lower, guys. I'm sorry, 37.63. I'll watch for another potential support. But everything is just back to this. You see the weekly rotation zones. That's just key. That's going to keep pushing this down. They just, the stock vertical up, vertical down, little darling for a while. But it's now below this very key area. And with that earnings miss, I'm just watching for lower prices in that again. Uh, Looks like it was end of the last week. We're back up to last Friday's levels. Again, if you're putting comments about a stock, please put the ticker symbol in there. Elon Kimball SEC probe is interesting. Many are thinking Tesla bottom is in. I think a minor bounce is in, but I'm not thinking long-term bottom's in. And the charts and the technicals don't play it out. We've hit the first key target on that weekly, and I think there's lower to go. Took was one juice up in the non-stop call buying is back in full force. Yep. And you saw that with a lot of stuff today. We looked at ARK. I mean, there's your ARK with your bounce. I mean, you're telling me that all these horrible stocks all of a sudden got better? Now, from a technical perspective, look, little weekly divergence with the NASDAQ rallying strong. We could see ARK back at 75. Hey, Raj, here's some look good. Feel free to skip what you wish. We looked at Square. We can peek at a couple of these. PayPal. Again, some of these like PayPal, just so ugly here. Again, ooh, that's just... So what? I mean, this is PayPal. Yeah, nice update, but your key resistance now is up around 123. Minor resistance at 108. This is another thing. Going to watch for a roll up and then another roll over. Overextended. Look how far it is off its weekly. If it does manage to get above that 123 area, I'm targeting about 130. That's it. And this is another bounce and rollover. Apple. We'll take a peek at Apple, which was up big today, up big, right off its 200. So testing that 200, remember, it doesn't have to hit it exactly. It's an area, but up big. I'm watching for a return to about 170 and then to see if any weakness comes in on Apple. Microsoft, you had a lot of these, look at that. Like all of a sudden, everything changed. Nothing changed with these. It was the back to the tech dip buying. Long term, longer term with Microsoft, I'm watching for a return to less than 308, probably around 300 to 305, and then seeing if it rolls over again. Again, I'm watching for continued lower prices after this bounce. You do have a potential double. That would be the only thing that changes my mind. And that does work, barely. I mean, it's right there. So that would be the only thing that would change my mind. It would have to get above this high of 315.12. And then it'd be 334.66, 344.42. So unless that triggers, I will watch for another rollover. That's the only thing that would make me bullish on Microsoft in the short term. HD, finally getting the bounce on Home Depot. But again, I'm still watching return to the daily rotation zone. And even in there, even if it filled this gap, I'd watch for it now and another rollover. Remember, my key level I said was 300, and we bounced off that today. That was the first thing I was watching for, was a return to 300. Now I'd be targeting upwards, around this 335 follow through area with being month end, like we talked about in the last thing. VRTX. Oh boy. Holding that 50. That's interesting. I mean, as long as it plays here, this is a little tricky. 233. In order for me to get really bullish again, this would have to get above 236 because we're into that weekly pullback to the rotation zone coming. You could not really stay above the support, but that's what I'd be watching. Above 236, it would be a play somewhere up into 245 would be my first target, then 250, but it has to show a little more strength. And if we break below today's lows, which would put it back below the 50-day, I'd then watch for a bigger pullback into that weekly rotation zone. And the bottom, that minimum area I'd be watching for was 217. UNH. Then I'm going to wrap this up. Oh, that double never came into play. This would just be a slight bounce play. This thing is confirmed this double top. I'd watch for, you got a little gap here in the daily rotation zone. Then I'm watching for a rollover. Easily to test the 200. So this would, UNH would just be a small little bounce. You still got a gap to come through and then the daily rotation zone. So bounce and then roll over. Confirmed, not triggered. Let me clarify that with this double top. In order to confirm it, or in order to trigger it, it has to close below that, but it has confirmed it because it did trade below that. Wells dipping below this key significant level, now moving back up. I'd watch this gap fill and then a rollover. Financials XLF today. Gap down. Now it's back to this, probably kisses trend line goodbye. Rotation zone. This is looking like it's finally rolling over and we might get a sell signal depending on how the week closes. I will have to check on that in the stock sector overview this weekend. But the short-term play in XLF is just for that gap fill WFC, back to that one. While I was looking at that, I'd just be watching for the gap fill on a continued follow-through and then another rollover play. Target hit the final. Well, it hit the next one. It didn't hit the final one. It hit the next one. And now it's reversing. I'm still watching for lower prices on this. I don't see it hitting that 178 unless it hit it pre-market. I didn't really look at that. Oops. Let's see though. Let me see. No, I didn't see that hit even pre-market. So still not to that final target, but coming out of this really oversold condition. Going to watch for that return to the daily rotation zone, then a rotation back down to the final target on that. Mike, could you do some teaching on what invalidates the head and shoulders pattern after it triggers? I'm interested in XLK when it triggers. Let's see, this is the slightly sloping down neckline. Did not get the close below there yet. What I'd watch, we have a concept called a fail-safe trend line, which would technically, you'd have to cut through the wicks there, but that's going to be the first little warning sign is if you get I'd be watching for this 160 area. If you get back above there, no more. Now, in order for it to completely invalidate, you'd have to get above that shoulder again, but that would be your first warning sign. And that's the continued. So all those double targets were hit on XLK. Oops, I don't want to do that because I wanted to keep that in the overview. But I'd be watching for this to return to the weekly rotation zone and then roll over again. Even here, my key area on there is 160. I thought I already did ZS and Snap. Is MO looking good for a long-term leap entry? Well, if you're talking leaps and it just triggered, MO is still, you had that shift, as I talked about in the stock overview, into growth versus value today. This is considered value. I would watch for another rotation back up. By the way, you got to close above today's high in the next couple of days. It's a long play. So, yeah, I'd wait for that close. And you could try to hold on to this with a tighter stop. I keep my stop below the 50 based off of this daily price action if you want to try to front run something. If that gets a longer term close up here, though, this would be a better long term play. I am bullish on that even with today's pullback. Mike, today was epic. Need to catch the end of and midday recaps. Today was an epic day. It was one of those rip your face off. I'm confused most of the time. What are you confused with, Michael? What are you confused with? Am I confusing you, Michael? I hope I'm not. Thank you, thank you, thank you. 49.99 super chat. You're a wonderful supporter of this channel, Amit. I really do appreciate it. Again, anybody else who wants to support things like Amit, fantastic. And I'm also talking. We have people like Wavy even just putting in those earnings things as supporting the channel. All you guys are wonderful. Let's see. Still learning, but harmonics have changed my trading. I have a couple questions I'll post. Wondering if you can do a video on forward and reverse and double harmonics. Just to trouble pick the appropriate points at certain time frames. Thank you. I'll look to record something for that on it, and we'll keep going through. What's your long-term target on Apple? My longer-term target is lower. On a rollover, my longer-term target, I'm watching more around this 140 area to start with, and then I'll have to see how it just accelerates beyond that. That's my first target, is this 140 area. Longer term, again, we could see a continued bounce in this, but this is a dispersion top again. Looking for almost an immediate return to his morning lows. We'll see. Given that it's month end, I'm not so sure at that. If you want, as I said in the last broadcast, though, you want the hint, and this has been tested out quite thoroughly, put on your retracements on this candle. Okay, this candle. And this works really well. 62.5% level, about 14,172. You start breaking below that, I'm watching for a return to the lows. Until that, I'm just watching for a pullback and then a follow through push higher. Now, if we can't get any follow through push higher with month end coming after today's price action, whoa, that is not good. Again, this is a short-term bounce for me, not a long-term bottom. So everybody who's talking long-term bottom, I think they're crazy because nothing shifted in the probabilities, even with today's price action, although it's a short-term bounce price action. Well, better late than never, Ken. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We should be buying on this rally if it starts exceeding daily candles. I sat on my hands all day and it was painful. A lot of these, if they're against the rotation zone, Ken, if they're against the rotation zone, that's your problem. Like PayPal, this would be a close even tomorrow above today's high, but this could slam into the rotation zone. So you really got to look at your reward to risk. Your stop has to go below today's low, and your upside potential is minor. So, because this can roll over anywhere in this rotation zone. So I'm just using this as an example. Okay, this is where we have a short-term bottom, but this is not a long-term bottom. This is where I'd rather give up. I'm not trying to pick bottoms. I'd rather give up some upside potential and wait for probabilities to shift. Okay, yeah, we can, things are oversold here, especially things like PayPal, but again, it's got some more price action to do. So if you wanted to play something, you got to be aggressively moving up your stop. And if the market, the NASDAQ especially, starts rolling over, this will roll over with it. Then I'm just going to look at these last couple. Then we will, then I got to call it this. This is 4 live streams today. See, I haven't even lost track. Whew. Now that's a move. That is a move. Wow. Let's see. I mean, now it only hit the first target on the double. Still did not invalidate it though, but if it holds above right here, not right there, that's your key line. So 530, 450. It's got to hold above there to make a run at the highs. And fine, let's PSQ. Any interesting entries on PSQ? And that's your short pro shares. So I'd be watching the NASDAQ overall once it returns to its rotation zone and then keep an eye on that. That's what I'd be watching the NASDAQ. I wouldn't key off that. I'd key off the NASDAQ up in here to see if it rolls over again there. Then that would be a play there. How would you have traded 5 or 15 minute today in Tesla? Tesla was just a pretty much momentum trade with the gap. So you had your momentum bars. Okay, you had your momentum bars. You had the pause, remember? You have to go from the close to the low. You had the momentum bars, your close above it, your little pause, you get the gap fill. That's your first target. And then you're coming from the lows to this bar with your harmonics. All right. And your next major target, 793, you're going to shift. You're going to watch, see with that little gap fill spike in the 15-minute rotation zone. Starts rotating back up through the 15-minute. Then you had 783, then 793 were your next key areas, along with right there. That's the target, especially with that kind of price action you had the cluster right there. Now, with your follow through for tomorrow, if it follows through to the upside, your next target is 827. Minor's 815, but next major is 827, which just takes you back into the 4-hour rotation zone. But that's the way you trade it. That's the way. When you remember with the gaps, immediately put on your retracement harmonics. These were momentum bars, and you saw NASDAQ with momentum bars, so there are plays before this. But you had to go to the 1 minute, my favorite. Your first play was this, momentum bars. If you want to play it this short term, which is some of these you have to. Where do I watch? If we just got a 1-bar pause, and I'd watch for a breakout resume. You got a multi-bar pause, so you know where I look. Momentum bars between the 50 and the 62, rotation back up. There's your first sane entry. You see me do that many, many times. So there's your play. Let me know, Tesla, if that answers your question. And then let's do, you have a great night too, Wavy. I'm going to get some rest. I need to get some rest. SBERL. Boy. What is it? SBER. Sorry. I can't. Ho. Yeah, that pretty much got wrecked. That got wrecked big time. Wow, wouldn't be touching this thing. You're welcome, Tesla. Yeah, you have a great evening too. I'm going to call it a day. By the way, again, if you're new here, please do consider subscribing, ringing that bell. See, I can't even hit my buttons. Ringing that bell and hitting the like button. Long-term members, please hit that like button and ring the bell again. Big shout out to Amit for the super chat. And I will look to be doing some more stuff with some harmonics for everyone here. Again, have a fantastic evening. I will do a live stream with the market open now. See Raj in right before the close. Oil spiking. It's up a bit, I guess. Yep, up a bit. again, we're still in bullish mode even with pullbacks. So we'll just have to see. None of this inflation stuff's going away. Thank you, Raj. None of this inflation stuff's going away. So anybody who thinks something fundamentally changed other than now it's a known fact that Russia invaded Ukraine, you're crazy. Fed's still got a hike. Inflation. Oh, what are you saying sorry for? I appreciate it, Raj. Always put stuff in. I can choose to ignore it if I want to, but this just got me on, none of this is changing. All of a sudden, oil's not going back to $50 a barrel. Corn and wheat and all those aren't going back way back down, especially with other risk factors with weather and everything else longer term. Fed's still going to have to hike. Yes, we could tip into a recession, and that's the Fed's still got to manage the recession and inflation, but they're going to have to cool off these markets still longer term. So enjoy the spike while it lasts, and I will talk to everyone later.